Welcome back to episode 119 of Tall Boy Radio. Now, long-term listeners who've been with us from the start will know that this podcast started off as Beans Does Stuff, but then we added Gaz and Andy and it became Tall Boy Radio, and today marks the 100th episode of Tall Boy Radio as it stands. Gaz is clocking up his 91st appearance and Andy's in with his 94th. So do you guys want to say hello before we tell you a little bit about what we're doing today?
Great to be here, guys. 100 episodes of Tall Boy Radio. Didn't think we'd get this far, but we're here. Loved every minute of it. Tonight, I'm drinking, it's a new beer for me. I haven't tried this before. Victory Ale, it's called. And it's from Bateman's Brewery. It's about 6%, I think. And it's a lovely sort of golden, sort of darky golden colour. Quite peppery, a little bit of sort of zesty orange in there as well. So quite tasty, actually.
Very nice. Andy?
Howdy. I'm on the old left.
There you go.
I'm looking forward to today. The old PubTime guys. And I'm a few beers down already. So I don't know
Good
how
lad.
coherent I'm going to be later on.
Surprise, surprise. Well, I have got a Vocation Imperial Banana, which I have had on the podcast before. It comes in at a very healthy 11.4%. But I thought, don't want to start off with a weak one, so I've got one a little bit stronger as well. It's Keys Catch Me by the Coconuts, which is a chocolate and coconut pastry stout, which is 11.9. So it packs a bit of a punch. It's basically like drinking Bounty with Baileys in it. Absolutely spot on. Now, as we said, it's a little bit of a different episode tonight. We're going to hand over to the boys from Illinois, the guys from the PubTime Podcast, and they're just going to take it wherever it goes. So let's hand over to you guys and see what happens.
Hey, welcome, everybody. It's the PubTime Podcast. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Brad.
And always we have Dick and Dayton.
Hey, guys.
The strong silent type.
And
perfect for radio.
these two guys over here, I think, both are drinking Delirium Red. We're trying to expand our horizons a little bit. So.
Yeah, in honor of you guys, we picked up the red and the blue. The red's 8%, the blue's 8.5%. Obviously, these have made it on camera plenty of times in your guys' episodes. But I tell you what, I do really enjoy the red. I haven't had the blue yet, but we'll get there, I'm sure.
That red's a gem. That red is a gem.
I've got one of Andy's favorites, the Golden Drac. We'll be getting into that here pretty soon. So
why don't you pop it open? What are we waiting for?
I gotta finish. I got the Guinness open, getting warmed up. I got this one. I got to pace myself. All right, so 5 for 5. All right, we kind of went back and forth. I thought maybe I had a better one. This one's pretty plain Jane, but I figured I would maybe gear it more towards you guys. And that is top 5 British bands of all time.
Bands or artists in general, right?
Yeah.
I was shocked. I did, quick Google. I mean, I know the obvious ones, but I kind of did a quick Google search and I was blown away by how many people that I guess I perceived as being maybe American artists that are British artists, and just, I don't know, because of their popularity or whatever the case may be, but it was kind of eye-opening for sure.
Cool. Who's going first then?
Yeah. Well, how about you want to start off, Ryan?
I love starting it off.
Let's go.
All right. My number 5, Elton John.
Okay, that's a good one. I said that's solid,
especially on the piano. That guy. I mean, granted, I'm not a huge fan of the outfits and stuff, but he definitely sold himself in the 70s. I'm sure one of you guys got a pair of them boots somewhere, but
maybe Gaz.
Yeah.
only on the weekend. We're okay. It's Saturday tonight.
Yeah, hell, you do what you do, bud. All right, number 4, I'm going Bad Company. All right, probably one of my favorite rock bands of all time. Number 3, he easily could probably be a little higher on this list, but that's Eric Clapton. All right, not that I ever really listened to much when he was like in Cream or the Yardbirds. It's a little before my time, but Eric Clapton, probably one of the greatest guitar players of all time. Number 2, Pink Floyd. Love some Pink Floyd, which I've described before on the show how many times I sat in my bedroom when I was younger, and I bet I've listened to Dark Side of the Moon 150 times front to back, just over and over and over. And then number 1, Black Sabbath. Probably more Ozzy Osbourne, but you got to enjoy where it came from. That was Black Sabbath, so that would be my number 1.
You guys want to swap? You guys want to swap back and forth? One of you guys go, and then we'll go, or do you want us to round it up and then pass it over to you?
Don't mind. Do you want to go, Gazza? Do you want to chuckle?
Yeah, I'll go. So it was quite hard because there was definitely some people who, as you've just mentioned, you didn't possibly expect to be sort of British. But I've got number 5, Dire Straits.
Money for Nothing.
Yeah, love Dire Straits. So growing up, it was just easy listening. The Money for Nothing album was just fantastic. I've got Elton John at number 4.
All right.
I love Elton John. Number 3, Oasis, which was they were just huge in this country. They were absolutely massith. Sort of Britpop.
They still are. I mean, did the Gallagher brothers, have they disappeared or?
I think they do well. In particular, sort of Noel sort of has started up a sort of a band, a sort of offshoot of Oasis, I suppose. You don't really hear that much about Liam at the moment, but Noel, I think, still does. He does a bit, to be fair, doesn't he, Adam? You probably know a bit more about Oasis than I do.
Yeah, you've got. Well, he does it. Just the High Flying Birds, isn't it, and stuff like that. I mean, they don't do anything together. They don't do anything together. They don't get on too well. They're always in the press commenting on each other and not having anything good to say.
Yeah,
I feel the same with my brother, so I get it.
And then number 2 for me was the Beatles. They again, I sort of didn't really start listening to them until much later than perhaps I should have done, but just some of their songs were just incredible. And then the number 1 for me was Queen. Absolutely love Queen. Growing up, I listened to them all the time. I thought Freddie was a fantastic showman, frontman, arguably one of the sort of the best frontmen showmen that you've got. So Queen for me was number 1.
Yeah, how about that? Freddie Mercury, one of the greatest frontmen of all time. I don't know if you guys ever listened. We had a 5 for 5 on top 5 frontmen,
and it never aired. It
never aired. Okay, so we never. But I had Freddie Mercury as my number 1, and Ryan just tore me to pieces over it.
Really? No.
I came out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
No, Freddie Mercury. I mean, when they did the Live Aid concert back in sort of mid-80s, he absolutely held Wembley Stadium in the palm of his hand, and he was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
You missed somebody out though, Gaz.
His opinion.
All right.
Yeah, Gaz missed somebody out there, dude.
Whoever missed out, go on.
Lost Souls.
Yeah, arguably.
His brother recorded an EP.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't great.
All right, so I'll go. And Ryan will probably tear me up for a few of these. That's okay. That's what we live for. Number 5, this is one of the bands I did not realize was a British-based band, and that is Mumford & Sons. So I put them at number 5. I do have Oasis at number 4. At number 3, I put David Bowie.
I can get down with that.
At number 2, this is the one I'm going to take some heat for, but I think that she is one of the most talented vocalists I've ever heard, and that's Adele.
What?
And then my number 1, like Gaz, I have Queen. For sure. And Freddie Mercury, everything. Probably one of the best live bands you could ever see, I would imagine, would be Queen. And that's where I'm at, man.
How many times do you see him live?
0, obviously.
Okay.
But
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
see, I mean, that's what YouTube's for.
Absolutely.
I just got to bust his balls a little bit. So
I'm used to it by now.
Yeah, you need to on that Adele one a little bit, I think.
Oh yeah.
So that's a question for you guys, I guess. I mean, obviously I get, being, she's a female solo artist, so it's a little different than the other bands and artists we've mentioned. But how popular, I mean, she's super popular in the States. I mean, how popular is she over there?
Yeah, she's a huge star. She got voted a couple of years ago now, but she got voted the most influential female artist in terms of sort of, if she says jump, everybody says how high, and there was sort of clamour over her next album, and she's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Hello.
like the Beyonce.
The Beyonce of
Okay.
the
Yeah.
All right. Who's next?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, go on the beans.
Yeah. Number 5, I went with Blur. Now, there was a bit of a tussle at the time between themselves and Oasis. And if you'd asked me back then, I probably would have said Oasis were the better band. But I think when you listen back to their music, a lot of their lyrics are pretty meaningless and just nonsensical, whereas Blur were really quite witty. And I quite like Damon Albarn. I think he's quite an intelligent chap. Number 4 is Spiral Carpets. Purely and simply just for one album that they did. If you ever get a chance out there, if you've never heard of Spiral Carpets out there in the States, I don't know how big they were out there, you check out the album live because it is phenomenal. Number 3, the Beatles. I love the Beatles. You know, my stag do, we ended up in Liverpool and we went around the Beatles Museum. I don't remember any of it because these guys.
I was going to say we.
Yeah. I think I was there. Body, maybe not spirit, but yeah, I was there, and I was in a lot of pain. I was just basically checking out where the nearest toilets were, so I could puke most of the time. But I love the Beatles. Number 2, probably created, I would say, the greatest album of all time, but you can probably argue with me on this one. That's the Stone Roses. Their eponymous album that they did in 1989 is just phenomenal from start to finish. Yeah, I don't think you'll find a better album that doesn't feature Morrissey. So number 1 is the Smiths.
So I like that his entire list. And did you even recognize some of those?
A couple of them. The Blur for sure.
That was the best part of the list.
Yeah.
You like this?
It shows the what we consider to be good.
Right.
Versus.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh no.
Beans
Smiths
is
are not
very
good. It's just Adam's number 1. We don't agree that they are great or good. But it's just that Beans is number 1. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way I see the 5 for 5. It's not necessarily the best. It's just your favorite. Your favorite 5 things or whatever.
I've been waiting for Dick's list.
So I think if anybody's ever listened to this show for more than 10 seconds, they know that I hate participating in 5 for 5. I have no problem commenting on anything that Ryan says, anything that Brad says, but I hate participating.
Yeah, he has no problem shitting on any one of your choices. He just doesn't have any of his own.
And one of my biggest fears is coming up with the exact same list as you guys, because I would never want to be, in any way related in that way, shape, or form. But I did come up with a list that kind of may even show my age a little bit. But number 5, Duran Duran.
Okay.
Yeah, hungry like it.
Hungry Like a Wolf.
Number 4, Sting or the Police, whichever, but most specifically Sting. Number 3, Queen, which duplicates, I guess. Number 2, the Bee Gees.
All right.
And number 1, Ozzy, Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I can agree with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. And I'm
Are the Bee Gees British?
Ozzy?
No, Bee Gees. I thought they were Australian.
Are they?
They're Australian. I don't
Hey,
know.
did you break character?
So, in order to provide this list, I Googled English musicians.
All right. Okay. I could be wrong.
So-
I thought they were Australian.
So maybe Google has failed me in this.
You could be right. I
And
always thought they were
Andy's
Australian.
definitely on it. Look at his eyes. He's definitely looking at this now. He's on his look at him.
He's not. He's ordering beer.
I like that though, because nobody
Manchester.
in this room would have called me out on that.
No. I mean, I was surprised when I heard it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I didn't expect that. No.
At least Robin Gibb, I guess, is.
Well, if he is, then Andy Gibbs is too. So you have to be.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Shit.
The 2 I pitched, my ears don't pick them up very well.
All right, now we got to hear from the Viking. What do you got up there?
I struggled with this list originally. I was like, can I even name 5 English people? And then when I started writing it down, I was like, oh, actually, there's quite a few. I did do a little Googling as well, and Fleetwood Mac have a few members of the UK, and I thought, well, could I slap them on this list? And I thought, nah, I'll stick with a few that I know. So I've got number 5, Pink Floyd.
Right.
They're a group. It's only probably the last couple of years I've been getting more into. I don't know whether that's from lockdown or drinking more or what, but it makes more sense.
You know what helped me when I was younger? You gotta smoke a little bit of weed. Listen to that whole album. No problem.
Oh, it's not legal in the UK just
Man.
yet, so
It wasn't legal here for a long time either. Still made Pink Floyd better.
I've got for Manic Street Preachers at number 4.
Yeah.
A Welsh group that I've seen them a couple of times, and I just love their style. Number 3, I don't think anyone would have heard of, called Earth Tone 9. They're like a really indie metal band that I've probably seen them like 8 or 9 times now, and I think they should be on the big stage, but obviously they're not. So
Haven't made it.
It's awesome.
It's a tough one. And then number 2, I struggled with. I went for the Beatles in the end. I had to flip a coin on the number 2, and then Queen at number 1. Just Freddie has always been in my life.
It's awesome.
Listen to them a lot.
I'll keep that to yourself, to be honest.
He's been inside me a lot.
It's the age-old gag when Elton John went to the doctors. He said, "Oh, I've been having all these symptoms. I'm not sure what's wrong with me." And he said, "I know what's wrong with you. He said, you've got too much mercury in your blood."
See, Elton John's a strong contender for the list as well, because he's just one of them characters, isn't he?
Yeah, you said performers. I mean, he was that guy was all over the place.
Did anyone say Led Zeppelin?
No Zepp.
Oh, that it was a sort of notable. I had got Fleetwood Mac on a notable. I'd actually got Coldplay as well on one of my sort of honourable mentions sort of thing, because I quite like Coldplay. But then Led Zeppelin as well.
Yeah, Coldplay's a good one too. I didn't think about that.
I do have one that I really enjoy. No one said, because this is a hot take. I do not enjoy them at all. That's the Rolling Stones. So glad. Out of 30 choices, not one person chose them. So
Right.
I crossed them off my list. I don't know.
They were on my notable mentions, so
that's
They
the
were,
best list
yeah.
you got.
One I kind of dedebated over a little bit was The Clash.
About Iron Maiden, Motorhead.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a
when I
lot
was a
of-
kid, I was a little more into metal, but those are pretty. You don't talk about 80s metal without talking about Iron Maiden or
True.
Lemmy and
And Bruce Dickinson, right? I mean, you could say he's one of the best frontmen of all time.
yeah.
Iron Maiden. So
What I like.
Crack the
Go
Blue,
on.
boys.
How do you find that one?
I'll let you know in a minute.
I think the blue's 5 times better than the red one. The red one, weird aftertaste for me. I love the blue though. But I imagine it tastes different bottled than canned as well. It's like Andy, in your little collection, you had some nice white Delirium bottles.
Yeah.
We can't find those here.
White Delirium bottles.
Like
Yeah.
ceramic.
The ceramic ones. Your
yeah.
normal
Yeah.
delirium. Right, yeah.
Delirium Tremont size. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't
they're
find those here. That's
They're like
very unfortunate.
9.2%, something like that.
Yeah.
They're pretty standard over here. It's harder to get the blue ones and the cherry ones compared to that one. I
Nice.
prefer the cherry one though.
So does anyone have any other bands or artists they want to talk about? That maybe were left off people's 5 for 5?
I nearly put the Who in. I think the Who, sorry, huge. And then also Sex Pistols. Do you know what I mean? They changed the face of music. You know, I mean, they were pretty serious contenders. Until everything went pear shaped for them.
I can't believe that nobody's mentioned somebody. People are like Take That or Boyzone or One Direction or what I mean. We've all got old school. I mean, come on, guys, you've got to go with the times.
Spice Girls.
Spice Girls.
Absolutely. There we go.
What I like is Andy got away with holding up his notebook there, his podcasting notebook, and literally he's still on the first page with 119 episodes.
So you guys must be
I
honest,
got that
because
this
I've
week.
never seen that notebook. Never seen it. So you guys must be absolutely honoured to see that.
Yeah. I went to a conference on Tuesday and I got this notebook and I thought, my new podcast notebook.
He wrote his list then. He wasn't doing any work at the conference. He wrote his list then. That's what happened.
It'd be the only thing that ever makes it in that notebook.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Beer and bands.
All right, so basically our first topic for the night. Just kind of a random. It's a fairly popular topic in news right now, but it's we've discussed it a couple times. We even brought his name up with, possibly being from another place. But
Right.
Elon Musk, is he the most powerful man in the world right now?
So I think he's on paper. I believe he's currently the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
But you got to think right now between SpaceX, Tesla, and just purchasing one of, I don't know if it's the largest social media platform, or at least one of the largest social media platforms. Has he essentially become the most powerful man in the world as a result of that? I don't know. I figure it's kind of up for debate. I guess it depends on what you think makes someone powerful. But just to be in that position seems insane to me, where you have control of sort of technology of the future, and then how people are going to communicate is all right there in your lap.
It is crazy. It is crazy. And I think when you say the most powerful, often you equate wealth with power as well, don't you? And that dude's, if you can afford to chuck $45 billion to buy Twitter, which didn't make any money for the first 5-10 years of its existence, then fair play, and it's incredible that's going to be deemed worth that amount of money as well. It's just insane.
I think Brad told me he paid double.
I don't think it was double, but I think it was over market value.
Right.
Because he basically wanted to make him an offer they couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
As I understood.
It's strange, isn't it? Because, the most powerful men, so arguably you'd look at the moment, agree or disagree, Biden and Putin, massive superpowers, they could push the button and go, yeah, is that powerful? But all you have to look at is, even with the Ukraine crisis now and Russia, what do they try to do? They try to disrupt the communication flow. There's propaganda. So if you have a hold of a massive communication tool like Twitter, social media, you can absolutely influence what people see, what people read, etc., etc. So therefore, for the flip side, if you're not going to push the button, but you can influence what people see and read.
Right.
So how do the English perceive censorship? Because that's the biggest talking point, I think, with him purchasing that is, I think maybe one group feels like maybe now they'll be censored a little more than the other, or that'll just be a free-for-all.
Yeah.
How does the English community as a whole view being censored? Or how do they feel? Are there things in England that are, censored maybe in that same way?
Yeah, we passed the trusted media. Well, not we weren't responsible for it, but it went through our parliament, the trusted media bill, so that the media, including the BBC and the printed press, have to go along with Boris Johnson's take on things like the coronavirus and what have you. And it hasn't been repealed. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're not really talking about it much in the British press now, but it hasn't been repealed. So you cannot trust the BBC. You cannot trust the newspapers because it's biased and it's censored. And there's
follow.
Yeah, you certainly, you have to go online and find your news from trusted sources, because these places cannot be trusted. It is purely propaganda. The problem there being is then there's a lot of fake news, and there's a lot of, if you take what's going on with the Amber Heard case and Johnny Depp, was it Joe Rogan was saying that 11% of the people who are actively talking about that on Twitter are fake accounts that are there just purely to influence opinion. And there's plenty of these people who are influencing people's opinion by sharing what they would put across as trusted sources and aren't. And it'd be interesting to see how he deals with that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's somebody that might have been Todd or Johnny maybe that tweeted. There was a photo of the Johnny Depp case, and then there was the Ghislaine Maxwell sort of case and stuff. And it was like, actually the coverage that Johnny Depp's case is sort of getting it is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, compared to potentially what is is a much more serious case. And you hardly heard anything of the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff at all, really. Or we didn't really. I don't know what it's like for you guys over there, but we didn't.
Yeah, radio silence. I agree completely. Like, the only reason the Johnny Depp case is even on TV is because he's a movie star. I mean, that same court case happens every day in the United States. as far as what they're debating. The only reason it's so public is because of who's involved. Absolutely. And then you have the Ghislaine Maxwell case that is really relevant, and you don't hear a thing about it. And I think the reason that is because there's a lot of really powerful people who are probably tied into what's going on there and don't want people to know.
Which should be more of an issue. I mean, I've numerous times have I voiced my opinion on pedophilia and things like that. And I feel like, a community that doesn't protect their children, you know what I mean, that are willing to let things go for money and things like, I mean, that's what we're talking about. These people are in high places. They're very powerful people, quote unquote, and they're basically untouchable. So if you're not willing to protect your children, what else are you willing to let go? You know what I mean? That's one of the most innocent things in the world as a child.
Well, don't forget as well, the previous CEO of Twitter stood down on the opening day of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and a number of other key CEOs stood down on the same day, and that's not a coincidence, is it? Let's be honest.
Right. And that's the whole reason. I mean, that in itself, or the culmination of things like that, is why Elon Musk wanted to purchase Twitter in the first place, is to, hey, let's, freedom of speech is important to us, and let's get rid of this censorship and really truly let all opinions be heard, and not only opinions that are geared toward a certain agenda or a certain, political bias or whatever the case may be. So, like you said, it'll be interesting to see kind of what direction he goes with it. How much of once he really starts diving in, how much of what has been going on gets exposed or not. I'm very curious to see what comes of it.
Yeah, me too.
Everything will be Tesla advertised. This tweet is sponsored by Tesla.
So speaking of that, I heard I was driving to work yesterday morning, and I was listening to a morning radio show, and they were talking about a book, and I wish I could remember the title of the book, but this guy is essentially the book is about 15 to 20 years in the future, and he says that 15 years from now that you won't have a need to own your own vehicle, that the road will basically be filled with automated vehicles that you just summon one when you need it. It comes and picks you up, takes you to work. There won't be parking lots or parking decks because they'll just drive around on the roads while you're working or wherever you need to be. And that's just fascinating to me. I mean, I know that kind of Tesla sort of has something like that going on right now, but to think of it being, excelled to that scale is super fascinating. I mean, how do you guys feel about sort of the transition from gas powered vehicles to electric, and then how it may kind of carry us into the future?
I'm a bit concerned about it at the moment, just purely and simply because in the UK, a lot of our power isn't sort of nuclear, it isn't clean, it's all fossil fuel generated. So I'm not sure whether it makes a lot of sense switching to electricity right now. I mean, I get it, and because I know Andy's getting an electric car quite soon, and he was telling me how much money he's going to save on it, and that side of it makes sense on a personal level. And then you look at how the lithium is used for the batteries and whether it's been ethically sourced, and there's a good argument to say a lot of it isn't. And then when you're looking at everything being recyclable, one thing that isn't recyclable is the batteries from electric cars. They're around for a lifetime, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting that what you're saying about cars picking up, you only have to see the shift change in the last 2 years of people working from home. Andy's life's changed dramatically. I know he's back in the office a little bit now. My wife works purely from home, apart from one day a week. Andy's wife works purely from home, apart from, she's on maternity leave at the moment, so she's at home and living the dream. But when she goes back, she's going to be working from home anyway. I don't know what will change for her.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think that that's one of the most interesting double standards I think that exist with certain people pushing, electric cars because of, they're green or this or that. Well, by what means are you producing that electricity? Is that electricity being produced by burning coal? Because that goes against your whole green concept, like you said, or the recyclability of the lithium batteries, that they're around forever. What do you do with them once, they've died? And then, of course, by what means they're sourcing the lithium and all that. I think you're completely spot on with those are concerns I think that should be addressed.
I just think you've got, in a way, you've got double standards across the board. You know, you've got all these world leaders meeting in a G12 summit about, clean energy and the saving of the planet. And they all rock up in private jets with however many people that's the biggest polluters on the planet are planes. And all of a sudden, all these people are rocking up all in travel this and travel that. And then they stand on a podium and talk about, we've got to save the planet. It's like, come on, guys, seriously? Have a think.
Yeah, it's the whole do as I say, not as I do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Obviously, with our government here in the United States, you get a lot of talking out of both sides of their mouth. I mean, that's. I'm not sure if it's the same way in the UK, but
it's no different.
It's no different over here.
I figured.
Hey, are there term limits in the UK?
Yeah. Well, every 5 years, every 5 years you have to have it's a little bit different over here because you vote for your local candidate and then your local candidate select the prime minister. So when a prime minister stands down, the party stays in power and they get to select them. And then there's different votes of no confidence and what have you. But no, the term is 5 years, but you can stand as many times as you like. Margaret Thatcher was from 79 till early 90s. She had 12, 13 years in power, wasn't she? Something
but even like members of parliament, can they serve? As long as they're getting elected, can they serve forever, basically?
Yeah, as long as you get effective, as long as your constituency, or as long as there are people within your voting region that want you to stand, then yes, theoretically you could stand. And if people continue to vote for you, then you could continue to serve.
Where we live here, so we live in Cheshire East, myself and Gaz. Basically, it's been conservative, literally since the early 1900s. They've got a massive majority, about 20-odd thousand, and that they're never going to lose. The people are going to vote for them because it's in their best interest to have it. So if you're a Tory candidate there, you're in for life if you want it.
Yeah, and that's what. So we in Illinois, I would say that if you looked at the map of Illinois, and they colored the counties based off political affiliation between conservative or Republicans and Democrats or conservative and liberal, like on a colored map, I would say 80% of the counties in Illinois are conservative, but the entirety of Chicago is liberal or Democrat. So I mean, essentially Chicago decides who the governor is. Chicago decides where the electoral votes are cast during the presidential election. I think in my lifetime
is turning as red as Andy's beard right now.
In my lifetime, I think in my lifetime we've only had one Republican governor,
Jim Edgar. Yeah.
Or no, but what's his face? Rauner.
Bruce
a couple
Rauner.
years ago was
Jim Edgar and Rauner.
But see, the thing that a lot of Brits can't get their head around in terms of sort of the American electoral system is that actually the guy with the most votes actually might not win effectively, because you have weighting and you have various states that are worth more seats or less seats, and it's like actually he got more votes but isn't in because his party didn't win as many different sort of counties or whatever. So quite a lot of the guys in the UK that I speak to, that they sort of can't quite get their head around that. But
yeah, that's the whole electoral college deal. And that's I think the only time in my life that whoever won the presidency didn't win the popular vote was when George W. Bush beat Al Gore.
Right.
So I think Al Gore won the popular vote, but George W. Bush won the electoral college. But it was in the courts for a while to settle it because there was a lot of questions of fraud and recounts and everything else. But
a lot of dead people voting.
That
happened
too. Yeah.
You had it in your will. My ass is voting 5 years after I'm dead, so make sure
that counts. Sick.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's unfortunately things like that more than likely will never change until you get enough people together to agree on something, which is so hard to do these days.
Yeah, and in regards to the term limits, that's kind of it's become more of a thing that you see certain people running on, is that there should be term limits, that being a career politician shouldn't be a thing. You should do your service as a public servant to serve your country, your community, your county, whatever the case. and then move on. You shouldn't be able to basically become a millionaire for life because you're a senator or a representative. And unfortunately, that's what happens. You have these guys, they get voted in when they're in their mid-20s, and they just make sure they're making the right people happy, and they retire as millionaires.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to be allowed to buy stock.
Yeah, that too.
As a national politician, you should not be allowed to buy stock that you vote on policy about.
And that's the same over in this country, because we have lots of politicians that they have that they purchase shares in companies, they purchase smaller companies, startup companies, and then all of a sudden, you get a bill that gets read out, and it's like, oh, it's some technology. Oh yeah, we'll vote for that, and then they rally around all their friends, and before you know it, you read into small print, and one of the politicians has got a 33% holding stake in this company, and you're like, come on, guys, like really? I mean, you look at was it in our country there was the tender for something to do with COVID. And I can't remember what it was, but one of the companies that was officially registered as being able to provide COVID PPE gear, one of the major politicians had got like his partner owned the company or something, and you're like, and it was worth like billions of pounds, and you're just like, come on, seriously, like how can that be allowed to happen? Come on. It's basically jobs for boys. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. There was a comedian, I can't remember who it was, but he said politicians should have to advertise just like NASCAR, so like their suit would be covered and all
was that George Carlin?
That sounds like George Carlin, yeah.
So when you're voting for this person, you need to know exactly who
they're speaking for.
Yes. Who's supporting them.
Yeah, and there should be, and yes, you might get a published list of who the sponsors of the, whether it's Conservative, Liberal, Labour, whoever, you know who some of their contributors are, but not on an individual level. So you don't know who's sponsoring this person or who's sponsoring that person. Yes, you know who's donated money to the party, but on an individual level, no, you don't know that. So it's absolutely open to massive fraud. It's huge.
So I don't know how much you guys follow, but I'm anxious to see then how the situation in Florida is affected, the Disney World versus Governor DeSantis issue.
Have you guys heard about that?
Not a huge amount. No.
Essentially, Disney World has disagreed with a bill or a law that Florida has passed, and so now Governor DeSantis is retaliating against Disney World by essentially writing a bill to eliminate their special.
They've sort of had their own government within Disney World. They make their own rules. They maintain their own infrastructure, all of that, right?
They're like
the Vatican, basically, in Florida.
There was a law written in 1967 that essentially made Disney World its own government.
Right.
And now they've essentially passed a bill to eliminate that, which is creating some issues, because I'm sure that Disney World donates money to every politician, not just the Democrats, but the Republicans as well. But there's also, what are they saying, a $1 billion debt that would have to be paid
by the taxpayers.
Yeah,
the taxpayers
to
eliminate them.
In order to eliminate that government that has been created, that special government.
And so now any infrastructure that's done on the Disney World property or anything like that is going to be a burden on the taxpayers as opposed to just Disney World. So
right now, Disney's responsible for their own infrastructure. They're responsible for their own security. They're responsible for their own fire protection. They're responsible for their own roads and bridges and everything. Now that's going to become a responsibility for whatever county they sit in.
Can I just say, by the way, that was an expert pour, because I was watching that glass and I thought he's definitely over poured that. That was absolutely perfect.
Sometimes you gotta hold back.
I was thinking, no,
going, but you know better. So this is wildly off topic, but Gaz, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I was listening to one of your guys' recent episodes. Okay, and you're a middle school teacher, correct?
Yeah, so secondary school, so the ages of 11 through to 16.
Yeah, that's what we would.
Yeah, middle school. Yeah,
like middle school for us. But
yeah,
I love the idea. So, like when you were injured, you guys were on an outing, right?
yep, correct.
I love the idea that you guys find different activities for those kids and get them outside of the school.
Yeah, so most of our afternoon timetable would be what we would class as more less academic, more sort of practical. So we might do some hiking, biking, woodworking, that sort of stuff. And it just stuntman, yeah.
Yeah. Gaz combined biking with first aid.
Yeah, I don't know how your ass ended up on the BMX track, but I love that idea.
I think he's explained how it ended up on the BMX track. At least.
flat on his back. I get that. But.
It's something that because the pupils that are at my school they're not from mainstream education, so they all have specific needs, and we only have sort of 15 to 20 pupils in our school, so we're a really small specialist school.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
And they all have social emotional needs. Some pupils have been excluded from mainstream, so we have quite a flexible curriculum, and we can offer
to be
lots
honest
of different things.
Me and Brad worked in a very similar situation, him in a high school level, me more in a middle school level, and it would have been really hard to take some of those kids into situations like you're saying, you know what I mean, because you got to keep eyes on them, yet at the same time the academics would be just as hard to get them to sit down and want to care to do this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the pupils that we have, yes, academics is important, and you need them to get some of their qualifications, but it's not everything. It's not the be all and end all. So lots of our pupils find it incredibly difficult to sit for 45 minutes to an hour. They have ADHD. They have lots of different needs. So we sort of try to break it up a little bit.
Yeah, so I did high school, so we're talking 14 to 18 years old. And the classroom that I worked in was more for behavior issues. And there was the teacher, she was a young female, so she was like in her first or second year teaching. And basically my role was to be like the bouncer, like if they got out of line, I would step in and take care of things. But and they were in our classroom all day. Once in a while, like one or two of them, they might leave to go to PE or a woods class or something. But we got involved in some community projects. In the town that Ryan and I are from, they have a big lights parade at Christmas time. It's existed for 30 years. It's people would come from all over the Midwest to come watch this. And so for, during like September, October, early November, we would take them once a week to go to the building where they get these light floats ready, and we'd work there, and we'd take them to do different things. And honestly, I thought that those times were some of the most productive times.
Yeah.
I thought they got a lot more from those types of things than they did from because their curriculum, because we had kids that were at all different grade levels, so a lot of their work was on the computer. Yeah. And so, they could sit on the computer all day long, but they're not really getting anything from that. And so whenever we would get out and do stuff in the community, I thought that stuff, that made leaps and bounds beyond some of the academic side.
Absolutely. And it's same for our pupils. Some of them struggle with how to interact socially. They struggle with not really having sort of social interaction lower down in their schooling life. They might have been school refusers. They never went to what you would say junior school. They literally would be homeschooled. So we get them and we try to provide stuff that they will engage with, not just English, maths, etc., etc. It's stuff that if they don't get a qualification, but they can leave the school and are able to interact in the outside world. Do they understand money? Do they understand how to cab? Do they understand how to read a timetable? It's all of those things. Can they survive in the outside world? And as well as all the academic stuff, we try to do that as well. But most of our afternoons are outdoors. We've got some kids going through what we class as Duke of Edinburgh. So they will do an overnight camp. They do various expeditions and stuff. So that's a big part of our curriculum, actually.
Yeah, life skills.
Absolutely,
right?
100%. Yeah.
I wish that they would restructure education here, that when kids get into high school, that, by the time they're 16, that you've been put on a path like college bound, or trades bound, or like just life skills bound. Like, okay, like you're going to go to college. We're going to make sure we get you ready for college. You're smart, or you get the kid that's like, hey, you've got some really good skills. You're intelligent. You don't have a desire to go to college, but let's get you into the trades. Let's make you a carpenter, a plumber, a bricklayer. Or you get the kids that are like, okay, like you're not going to be on either of these paths. So let's just teach you how to survive in the real world. Let's teach you about money, about, like you said, how to taxes, how to get a cab, how to grocery shop. Like, let's just give you the tools you need to be a productive
How do you
member of
budget?
society.
You might go out and pick up some labouring jobs, manual jobs. You could go to college. Everybody at whatever level they're at will earn money.
Yeah.
But it's having an understanding of what is it you need to buy with those things. Like, do you understand what tax is? Do you understand the difference between a debit card and a credit card? Do you understand what a bank account does? What even is a mortgage? What even does that mean? It's all of those things that actually, even if you don't get a qualification, when you're out in life, you're probably going to need to understand.
Yeah, if Andy would have had this class, he wouldn't spend all of his money on beer.
He would.
He probably would.
He'd budget a little better. That's all it is.
I'd have more beer for less money.
Hey, just say the golden, delicious. That's delicious. I love it. The dark. I think I'm going more towards the dark beers. I love them. I think I've totally been converted.
I like the blue too. The Delirium Blue is really good. So let's
we're getting close to a little time crunch. Do you have? You said you want to squeeze in some sponsors?
Yeah, we need to give a quick shout out to some guys called Ollie's, and they make a selection of snacks which go perfectly with your beer. And they have been kind enough for our UK listeners to give a discount code to us. So if you go to their website, which is ollies-ollies.com, you can get 20% off by using the promo code TallBoyRadio, all capitals, all one word, when you're paying at the end. And they've asked us to mention as well that their chocolate pretzels are now available in 900 Sainsbury's local stores, and their olives, which I have to say are absolutely fantastic, are coming to your cooperative stores near you very, very soon. They're in a number of co-ops and they're going around the rest of them. So get on board, but order them online and use Tallboy Radio as a promo code, because it just makes us look good.
Which flavor do you have there, Beans? What'd you have?
Well, this one is the chili and rosemary flavor. So they do a number of flavors. They do a garlic and lemon, I think it is, or a garlic and thyme. But this was my particular favorite, which is chili and rosemary. It's awesome, really nice, really spicy, and they're sealed in a pack, so you can just pop them straight into your mouth. You have to get your fingers like greasy, spot on.
That's awesome.
These would have worked out perfect for Ryan a few weeks ago on the Bloody Mary Day.
Yeah.
Yes, I tell you what, they would go nice in a Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the world's worst Bloody Mary about 2 weeks ago. Okay, we go to this bar, and it's a bar we used to frequent quite a bit. And I asked the lady for Bloody Mary, and she gives me a face like, just how dare you ask for that? Okay, and she starts making it, and it's basically just tomato juice and vodka. She doesn't have an olive, she doesn't have a pickle, she has nothing back there, no seasoning, no spices. And had I known, I would have just told her to pour the damn thing out. Like, here's your money. But I ended up drinking it. It was the worst damn thing I've ever had in my life.
Shocking. Zing Zang, that's the mix over there you have, isn't it? Is it Zing Zang or something like that?
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best. You
That
got to doctor it up a little bit, but
even if that's all you had was vodka and Zing Zang, that'll get you by for sure.
But I need some...
A friend of ours, Big Tiddy from the Tiddy Insider Show, he recommends switching the vodka out for gin, and I'm going to tell you, it makes a heck of a difference.
Oh.
In a bloody?
I'm not crazy about gin, but I'd be
It
willing
works. It works well in a Bloody Mary. Yeah, it works really well.
I'd have to give it a shot.
Well, if you do a gin and squirt.
Gin and squirt?
Yeah, just like a gin and tonic.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, guys, with Fame or Shame. Welcome back, everybody. We'll be starting this off with a new segment. We had, just last Thursday?
Yeah, Fame or
Fame
Shame.
or Shame. All right. I've got one for our guys from England. It's called a flair for English footy. So Charlie Perry, 25, was filmed putting a lit flare in his bum after boozing since 8:30, nearly 12 hours before the England and Italy World Cup game. He estimates he had downed 20 cans of Strongbow and banged a load of powder throughout Sunday, but was allowed to stroll in without a ticket for the showpiece final. This is my favorite part. Perry, a roofer by trade, claimed he was a veteran gibber. Now, at first it took me a minute to figure out what that is. Do you guys know what a gibber is? So that like pay people. It's like a scalper is what we'd call them. Like you're finding a way to get in. You know, he's paying people at the gate to make his way in there. So Perry said, after 18 months of misery, I thought this would bring the England fans together. It was the biggest day in English football for 55 years. There were thousands of fans in Leicester Square. Did I say that right? Leicester Square. The atmosphere was amazing. Everyone was fooling around. There was a bit of a competition to do stuff, so I just thought I'd put a flare up my bum. It was the biggest day of my life apart from Chelsea versus Man City in the Champions League. He went on, the flare burnt for about 10 seconds or so around the cheeks. I didn't feel a thing because I was highly intoxicated. No one dared me to do it. It was just a very irresponsible thing.
Was this the
Should be
other? He
nice.
said he had a load of white powder.
Yeah. I got that. He banged
I
the...
want that other quote that says, "I banged a load of white powder."
That's
I did 20 cans and then did some powder.
That was the beginning. He said he had been in the piss since 30 after 8 in the morning, which it took me a minute. I had to figure out what in the piss meant.
On the piss.
On the piss.
Yeah.
Did you say on the piss?
It
Yeah,
was-
on the piss. Yeah.
3 sheets to the wind at 8:30 in the morning. I love it. So
Good lad.
sounds like this guy fit right in.
I can say this much, fellas. I've never seen this at a football game.
Yeah. So what I want to know is this how all English fans get ready for said footy games, or is this
I think
commonplace?
that would be higher percentage than what we probably think.
Yeah. The drinking, definitely.
Yeah. The drinking definitely.
He should be given a title like Sir.
So last
Strongbow.
the last week we voted. All right. We need to know if young roofer Charlie Perry belongs in the PubTime Hall of Fame or the PubTime Hall of Shame.
It's
Gaz,
tough.
what's your
It's
vote?
tough.
Hall of Fame or Hall of Shame? Remember, he's a Chelsea fan.
I'm going to go shame.
Andy?
Think back to your younger days.
If it was any other drink other than Strongbow, I'd say Fame. But
Strongbow
Shame.
and a load of powder, though. I mean, I'm not sure which one's making the decisions, but
Yeah, forget the powder. It's the Strongbow. It's put me off.
shame or fame? Shame? All right.
That'll be shame.
Beans?
I'll give this dude credit where credit's due. Do you know what I mean? He's got himself in the papers. He's made a name for himself. He's been honest. I'm not a big fan of Strongbow either, but I'm going to say Fame. You know, it probably was the highlight of England's tournament. I don't remember how they did that time. I'm sure they didn't win anything, but yeah.
Well, we did lose on penalties, didn't we, to Italy in the final? So
He said it was the biggest day in English football for 55 years. So how to celebrate that?
So I'll say this. I could not I think one of the greatest things as a human being is to be irrationally passionate about something that you have no control over, like sports. And so for that reason, I'm going to vote Fame.
Okay. And
This man,
I feel the same way, but
this
I'm not
man-
shoving anything up my ass.
I was gonna say, yeah. Are you just
For the
impressed with his
greater good.
ability? His abilities.
I'm gonna pass that buck on to someone else. Hopefully,
This man.
Yeah, but you're gonna watch it if it happens in front of you. You're gonna watch it, and you're gonna.
I can't wait till the opening night of the NFL season. One of you guys is there just running across the pitch, the flesh to cut your ass. That's what I'm looking at.
This man shoved the flare up his ass for. You shoved the flare up his ass for God and country. So Fame.
All right, 2-2.
He was able to hold this flare in his butt for the time that it went off.
Yeah, he said what did he say? 10 seconds.
That's not very long.
Oh, Brad could do better. We're setting records.
It's a road flare. I'm not sure. I mean, I got a picture of it, but I'm not sure what kind of flare it was, where it was produced.
Brad's willing to go a step further. Dynamite.
11
He's
seconds.
willing to stick dynamite.
Dick?
Anything under 3 inches in diameter. I'm gonna go with Fame.
Yes, I love it.
Fame.
I'm not tying it up. We're putting this guy in the fucking PubTime Hall of Fame. Are you kidding me? Everybody loves a good footy game, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Go
Yeah.
England.
That's fantastic.
He's in. I
Well,
love it.
congratulations to him, and I hope his children are very proud of him.
Young Charlie Perry.
We're gonna send the award over. We're hoping you guys can hand deliver it to him.
What's his name?
Us deliver it.
Charlie Perry.
Charlie Perry.
Resident roofer.
Oh, he's a roofer.
That was the best
Congratulations,
part.
young man.
Roofer by trade.
Roofer by trade. I would have known that by the powder comment.
The powder, banging 20 strongbows at 8:30 in the morning.
I don't know about you guys, but here in the States, I would say that 90% of roofers don't hold a driver's license.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing over there, but if you're a roofer here, you've probably done time in prison and don't have a driver's license. Those are the two givens.
Yeah.
I know one roofer, and he fits nicely into that category.
And they all wear the same shoes. Every one of them. Every roofer I've ever met, they all own the same pair of shoes.
Roofing shoes.
I guess. Oh my goodness.
All right, so moving on. We're going off the deep end now, guys. All right. On our end, I'm titling this kind of Dark Side of the Moon. I have a huge fascination with space, UFOs, extraterrestrials, life beyond the Earth we live on. All right. So I would like to know what the English perception of UFOs, extraterrestrial life, and maybe moving towards even living in space someday. You know, I know Brad had the, more AI future where cars are going to pick you up, but
I don't
even with Elon Musk and SpaceX, if you have enough money, they'll shoot your ass into space right now. You can go see what it looks like. I mean, that's not obviously affordable or anything for the common man, but I would just like to know how you guys all feel about it.
Well, I mean, I think, again, we did a previous episode. I think it's called Conspiracies. Was it Conspiracies?
Yeah, we did.
And we had a guest guy on who's very similar to yourself. He was talking
Crazy.
about dark side of the
He was a
moon.
nutball.
Hey, just so you know, guys, I haven't smoked anything. This is all.
But
This
he
is
was
just
talking
all
about
internal.
the dark side of the moon, and he was very much saying that when we went to the moon landings and we were warned away, and there was a civilization there on the dark side of the moon that he couldn't see, and he was really like out there sort of thing. And he was absolutely convinced, wasn't he, Ad?
Well, he told us a story as well of the original moon landing, sort of July 20th, 69, was it? The Apollo 11. So it was tracked from a number of places in the world, and one of which is Jodrell Bank in UK, which is one of the largest telescopes in the world, and it literally is about 10 miles from where we live. And his mum was present there, in 69. And she swears that she heard it cut out. You know, there was a 15-second gap in the broadcast or something like that, or a minute 15, whatever. And she's certain that she heard a broadcast say, or someone repeated a broadcast, that they had landed, but they weren't alone. And that's what she says. I don't know if I'll buy into that myself, but certainly she believes that, and I'm not going to disrespect her opinion.
Yeah.
No, I just know, as an American, anything else we get our hands on, a lot of times we ruin it, we destroy it. You know, there would be a 7-Eleven on the moon if we've been there more than once. You know what I mean? I can't believe they just planted a flag and walked away. They would have been back.
My opinion is that part of the moon thing, and when we're talking 60s and 70s, probably that's when most of the trips to the moon happened. That we went to the moon to say we did it. We were having the space race. Thank you, Delirium. With the Russians at the time, and eventually it became, okay, we've been to the moon a dozen times. It's expensive to go there. There's no resources there. Why do we go back?
Oh, we piss so much money away to things that are expensive all the time. That's not a good excuse.
But I think if you've determined that there's really nothing about the moon that is useful to civilization, why would you keep going back?
But has the dark side of the moon been explored to the extent of the light side of the moon? So you might turn around and say that there's no resources there's nothing we can use. But have we discovered the dark side of the moon?
Side, yeah.
Is there anything there?
I haven't smoked enough marijuana to explore the dark side of the moon
today.
No, like I said, what is the UK's perception of alien life form? Like, I feel like the longer it goes on here, it's more of just a given. Yeah, we know there's something out there.
Yeah, it's become more commonly sort of accepted that there's likely some other.
Before, people would be like, that guy's fucking crazy. Stop talking to that guy. You know what I mean? Don't go to his house anymore.
I just think, like, statistically, we can't be alone in the universe, surely. Right. You just do the maths and you turn around and say, what? So there's only the constituents of life on this planet.
In one galaxy.
So you've got one planet in one solar system, in one galaxy, and there are billions of them out there. What? And you're saying that we're the only ones? And actually, who are we to say that there's not lots of civilizations less civilized and developed than us and more civilized? So why can there not be people from another planet visiting us that have light travel, light speed, and all of that? Yet there might be civilizations on another planet somewhere else that are the equivalent of us when we were cavemen and coming out of the ice age and stuff. You know, there's all of these things. Statistically and mathematically, we cannot be the only planet that can support life. So I'm a believer that there is something out there. I'm not sure what that is or what that looks like, but I do think that there's something out there.
Beans, how do you feel?
I'm with Gaz on this one. If the universe is infinite, then it's unthinkable that there isn't another situation similar to ours where life is produced, whether they breathe oxygen or however they're built, I don't know. But it's unthinkable that this is the only one, because it's infinite. So therefore, there's an infinite number of possibilities where this thing can be replicated. Whether they can travel to us or not is open for debate, but I guess.
But why would they not be able to travel to us, though?
Well, this is it.
Why would they not be able to advance at a faster rate than we do as the human race? Why would they not be able to do that?
How do you think Andy got here?
What's that? Sorry. Yeah.
Come on now.
He's just supervising us.
Yeah, we know this. Yeah, but like Gaz is right though. Ultimately, if travel seems alien to us, and pardon the pun there, it is for that level of distance. But the level of the way that infinity works, it means that somebody must therefore have come up with the way of travel. Why the hell they'd want to come to Alsatia or Peoria? Yeah. I don't know, but
this would be off subject real quick, and we'll go right back. What time do you guys usually record your show?
we're around about this time of night, which is
so Andy has a
9:30.
belly full of Belgian ale every time you guys do this, right?
No. It's Saturday today. He doesn't normally have a belly full of Belgian ale on a Tuesday night. We
It's
record
normally
during the
whiskey. Yeah, it's normally whiskey.
He normally puts whiskey in his Belgian beer, to be fair. So,
Jesus, that's hardcore.
So I'll tell you what, when we load Dick up with the scotch, man, you can't stop him. He just goes.
Yeah.
and you know what?
I say that phrase to my missus.
Yeah, as soon as we cut it, he's out.
Yeah, I can't remember a thing I said.
It's better that way.
Yeah, so this is going to be a way better show.
Hey, so about the aliens. So I kind of said, this is a while back, we were talking about Roswell and everything else. So I've kind of come to the point where I think, everybody talks about the pyramids and aliens being involved in ancient civilizations. I think there's a chance that maybe at one point in time, the aliens, some form of aliens, were here, involved in the pyramids and stuff like that. And then they said, okay, for whatever reason, they left. And maybe this is some sort of bizarre experiment. Maybe we're just a bunch of lab rats for aliens, right? And in recent history, as in the last 100 years. What's that?
Did you just throw up in your mouth?
No.
Thanks, delirium.
Yeah, and God, he's on them cherries. So in recent history, like the last 100 years, at least in my mind, I feel like the time you started hearing about more UFO sightings and aliens was probably somewhere in like the 40s, 50s, ish.
Yeah.
Well, what else happened around that time? That's when we dropped the atomic bomb. So I think there's a chance that, let's say that, for the sake of this conversation, that the aliens did we are lab rats for aliens. And you hear about abductions because maybe they come along once in a while and they pluck one of us out and they do an experiment and they put you back. And that's why these people have weird premonitions that they were abducted but they can't remember anything. So let's say that is the case. And all of a sudden around the 40s or 50s, you start having more sightings. And
I love how you started this off with you don't smoke marijuana. You've never seen the dark side of the moon.
Everything that, what point otherwise?
As much as you're spinning this thing now, I got a good feeling. I don't know. He's failing that drug test on Monday.
I'm saying this though. If I think in the 40s or 50s we dropped the atomic bomb, and they're like, hold on a minute.
Oh shit.
These motherfuckers figured out how to split the atom, so we need to get down there and keep an eye on them before they blow this whole place up. And it's like that's why you start seeing more alien, the Roswell thing, or a lot of these crazy sightings start happening around the 40s and 50s, and of course there've been more in modern times. But
one of the most notable, and I have it in my list, actually happened in England in the 80s, Rendlesham Forest. Any of you guys familiar with that? Is that something that's...
No,
So
I don't think so.
It's in Suffolk, England.
Andy's been sworn to silence on this.
And
I've read up on this a while back.
Really?
I genuinely can't remember.
That's what his conference was about.
But Rendlesham Forest is probably, besides Roswell, I feel like it is probably one of the most notable, because the people who reported it were at Rendlesham Air Force Base. So these are,
Military people
with their job on the line kind of deal. So if they say, hey, I seen something floating in the sky, they're going to be questioned heavily, you know what I mean? And judged, but it is probably one of the most popular UFO sightings of all time outside of Roswell.
To me, and we spoke about this on our conspiracy theories episode, when you get somebody in Australia and you get somebody in America and you get somebody in Canada and the UK, if they all experience the same thing and they have absolutely no way of communicating with each other or prior knowledge or never met, yet the stories that they tell are absolutely identical, that leaves a bit of a question for me, is that they must have experienced it, and therefore multiple people must have experienced it. It was pre the times of social media and all that. A guy in Australia in the 1960s or 70s can't possibly communicate with a random guy in America, in Brazil, in wherever it may be. Yet each of these people, when you read about it, experienced exactly the same thing. How does that happen if it's not being done by somebody that has an overarching view of us? I don't get it, and that's a bit for me that I can't quite fathom yet.
Yeah, and there's origin stories from ancient civilizations that are very similar. The wording's different, whether it be in Australia or in South America or Stonehenge or wherever the case may be, but they're all looking to a very specific place in the sky, and they have a name for it. We talked about it when we did the Roswell one.
Orion's
Belt.
Okay.
Yeah. And you didn't have much to do back then. You know what I mean? We're talking 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. You had the sky.
Yeah. No Netflix.
No Netflix. No TikTok. No Twitter. You know what I mean? What else would you do? You look up, and you find your surroundings, and they all have stories that are very similar, like you're saying. Places that would have never communicated. Just
and like the pyramids in Egypt, aren't they? They're built in exactly the same position that would fit
as Orion Belt.
As Orion Belt, and then the same ones in South America are on exactly the same level of telemetry as well. Which is, I can't even get my head around how that could be that long ago.
There's so many places in the there's so many places in the world that, when you look at where they're pointing or their alignment, or there's so many similarities between civilizations that would have no other way of doing that other than, as you said, looking up and seeing the constellation. That
I'm gonna bring up, because Dick had the same argument last time when we talked about building.
He passionately disagrees that this is.
I work in construction. He does as well. So I get the idea. Yeah, I could get 10,000 people to move this 100-ton stone. Okay. And you're going to drag it up. You're going to drag it up this ramp and get it real close. How the hell am I fitting 10,000 people around this stone when it's only a foot away from where it needs to be? Now I got to move it into place, specifically into place. It's not realistic. You know what I mean?
And when you look at
people could move it.
Look at the pyramids, and did they say, and I can't remember the numbers, but the size of the pyramids, and they said they're literally within, I'm going to say, like a couple of centimeters out,
right,
in terms of length or perpendicular or whatever it may be. And you think, like, how can they do that with the technology that they had back in the day? How did they make it? How did they do that?
Right. It's and not square, not just square like sitting where it is, like square to the world.
Yeah.
Like,
square to each other, square to the world, and square in exactly the same way that Orion's Belt is up there, without any measuring facilities, without any oculuses or anything like that. So they basically looked up and gone, right, we're going to put that pyramid there, we're going to put that one there, and it's absolutely geometrically perfect.
Which I would have a hell of a time doing now with the technology we have.
I can guarantee that it would be no disrespect, but it would be a damn sight more accurate back in the day than possibly anybody now, even now, would be able to do.
Right, where you almost feel like we have technology we've forgotten. You know what I mean?
And I know the story about the city of Atlantis and stuff. It was buried, but allegedly it had lost technology and alien technology, but it was lost and therefore lost to civilization and all of that. So whether you believe in that, I'm not so sure. But
Gaz is pulling on my heartstrings now. I'm gonna have to shut these other guys off. Me and Gaz, we're just gonna have to have a moment.
I started a new podcast, conspiracy theorist podcast.
I love it. Dick thinks that it just happens to be a coincidence that all this lines up.
Orion. What is Orion's Bell?
Orion's Belt.
Orion's Belt.
Yes, the hunter.
Was that discovered before the pyramids or after the pyramids? Was it created before?
Well, maybe it was probably named after the pyramids.
That's a hell of a coincidence. Either way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, either way around that, and I struggle to think that it would be created after the pyramids. I suspect that the planets that
most ancient civilizations built things to do with the
correct,
constellation. Just like Stonehenge, which we're going to get into here in a second. There's another place, the Karnak Stones. I mean, there's plenty of places that point to things in the sky that they should have had zero knowledge of. You know what I mean? But that's all they had to go off of. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
So where about? I have no point of reference, so forgive me. Where about in England is Stonehenge?
So is it Salisbury? Is that way? So it's about 2.5 hours south of where we are. Do you know? So if you picture the UK, London.
You guys are like northwest. It'd be southwest.
Yeah. So if you know where London is, it's about an hour, maybe slightly north and slightly sort of west of London.
Okay.
If you've ever heard of the Festival Glastonbury, it's not a million miles from there.
Gotcha. Have any of you been there? Been to Stonehenge?
I've been to Stonehenge, yeah.
Andy?
I used to be based about 5 minutes down the road, like when I was in the army from there.
You're a military guy?
Yeah, well, yeah, I did a little stint. Yeah,
It's good. Appreciate your service. Even though it was over there.
Did you serve with Prince Harry?
No.
Were you on his rugby team?
Yeah,
I should have been.
I think you'd have been a really good influence on him.
I like to think so as well. I like to think he'd have a nice beard.
Nice golden beard, yeah.
I used to be based in his line.
Okay. Did you ever? What are the local stories in regards to Stonehenge?
Jay, I don't know. I used to go away so I'd be based nearby in the week, and then at weekends I go away. So I didn't really speak to many locals. But I used to do like a summer solstice and a winter solstice, where it's like a pagan ritual sort of thing for like long winter and long summer or something. And I missed out on one of them, but it's basically just a big like drug party. all the hippies come out and just smoke and sniff stuff and just appreciate the stones.
But for those solstices, it still lines up with Stonehenge, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
yeah.
I bet the guy with
thousands of years later. It's crazy.
I bet the guy with the flare in his butt was there.
and again, you look at Stonehenge and you look at, and I think the story is that, or the legend is that the stones, did they come from somewhere in Wales and they transported them to Stonehenge? They were great big monolithic stones,
huge, yeah.
And but the way that they are aligned, when the sun rises, it obviously points directly through the arch and then directly onto like the headstone or altar or whatever you want to call it, and the various rituals. And you again you think, like, how did they do that without measuring implements? And it just, the more you think about it, the more you think, ooh, okay, so something weird's going on.
Right. Is it less distraction, like you said? There's no Netflix and all that stuff, so it's just like with the sat around, was you thousands of years ago, you'd be smoking stuff, doing stuff, just looking at the sky, going, "Oh yeah, let's line that shit up to this." And then
yeah,
like,
and I'm sure that happened, Andy. I'm sure some bloke did lie on his back and go, "Let's line up that shit with this shit." But
sounds like me and Andy are starting to show too.
but my question is, how did they do that? Yeah, you've got some guys go, "I know what we'll do. Let's do this," but actually, how do you do it? I think that for me is the biggest thing. So all sorts, I don't know, the pyramids, the Stonehenge, various Inca sort of carvings and all, there's various carvings in various caves around the world, and there's all these sorts of things that point to us. You look at Halley's Comet, and you look at the influence that Halley's Comet might have had and all the things on the civilizations, and they see this big thing in Halley's Comet is the Bayou tapestry, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? It's like, it's in various other Neolithic cave drawings and all sorts of stuff. So you think, I don't know. I just think there's too many coincidences for it not to be something.
I guess what I'm trying to say is hindsight's 20/20, and you can always create stories that make it look like you meant to line stuff up the way that it lines up. And you can,
I don't know. I look back at a lot
was
of this.
created way before we came around, and
Gaz,
I
call him
think-
on
I
his
think-
bullshit
I think
right
Ryan
now.
and I talked today about when books were written and how they were written, and if they were rewritten after the fact.
I've had a lot of.
Hey, don't bring the Bible into
No,
this.
I've made a lot of stupid
Or the
decisions in my
Constitution.
lifetime, and I can't look back on them and come up with a magical scenario to make up or all of a sudden decide it was a good idea.
So in the construction industry, there's something called as-builts. So you create the as-builts after you build the building.
Yeah, yeah.
We can always build something and then create the story of how that building was
But
built.
still,
But
we're
those
asking,
stars
how
have
did they
never
know?
moved.
Like,
those, take the stars out of the
The
equation.
stars are
like,
moving
the Earth
constantly.
moves. No, the
the
stars
Earth-
don't
the
move. The
stars
Earth
don't move.
moves.
The Earth moves.
Right.
But like, how do you even get those things into place as precisely as they are? Like,
How do you know that
take
they
this-
are in place? You are relying on somebody else's.
well, someone's gone out there in modern times and done measurements and been like, wow.
Yeah, in modern times they have.
Yeah.
They've gone out there and they've
Yeah.
literally used various lasers and telemetry, and they've then projected it onto a map of the sky. And all the technology that they have at the moment has
And
indicated
there might-
that.
Yeah, there might be a couple coincidences.
so once again, hindsight's 2020.
Well, I'm saying there may be a few coincidences, but there's no
Not
way
that
that it's
good.
all a coincidence. Like, there's no way. It's impossible.
Yeah,
The thing is, though,
they all
if
talk-
it
Go
is a
ahead.
coincidence that if it is a coincidence, it lines up. Then that's a bigger question. How could that be a coincidence that it matches exactly with
Yeah.
the stars, or how many stars are on Orion's belt there and in another place in South America? That's the bigger question. How does that happen as a coincidence? Because that doesn't make sense to me.
So
They'll
one
just look
civilization
up and
does
go,
it.
Okay.
Yeah, they did, and you're right.
But,
Andy, I think
but
they
it's
did. They
but it's
looked up.
exactly.
They looked up and they went, "Oh, let's copy that. Let's build our pyramids exactly like that. There, that shape." But how did they get the measurement? The distances from the tip of one pyramid to the next pyramid is statistically exactly the same as when you look up the distance from one star to the next star. So proportionally, the pyramids are in exactly the same place, and they're in exactly the same shape geometrically. You're right, Andy. I think someone's looked up and gone, "Oh, let's do that." But how did they do that to the level of detail that they've done it? That's what I can't get my head around without some sort of weird influence or something. I don't know.
Well, aren't ancient civilizations always reference an outer, not an outer being, but like a deity or whatever it is that's otherworldly, should we say?
Yeah.
Like the Egyptians have Ra and stuff, and the
They
Mayans
have gods, don't they? Yeah,
whatever,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, and I've
Rick
always,
James has cocaine, and
I've always wondered if that's, and not to, and I don't want to offend any of you. I'm not sure what you're.
But here you go.
But
I'm going to.
Yeah,
There's the caveat.
I love when people do that.
Anytime someone
I don't mean to be offensive, but
I don't want to be an asshole,
I'm
but
about to offend someone. No, I don't know what your guys' like religious stances are, but like part of what I think is that maybe that's where modern religion stemmed from. You know, when you talk, because everyone views their God as being in the sky, then maybe at one point in time it was these alien creatures, and at some point, they did come and go from the sky, and they had these supernatural powers to do things that no human being could do, and obviously, like in modern times, we haven't had face-to-face interaction with these creatures, but it makes you wonder though if that's kind of where the story of these gods from the skies,
right,
came
angels and I can't fucking
Rufus.
fly. Can you fly? Like
No,
it's
no.
just that's a crazy story to
But
buy
again,
into.
You
It's
go
just-
back to
Right.
civilizations that saw Halley's Comet, and they would talk about this fire-breathing dragon in the sky, and it's basically Halley's Comet with its tail behind it and stuff. So you do get stories of it may be celestial things that happen, and people will embellish stories. And yes, was there was it sent by aliens? I don't know, but it's for me, it's the coincidence of too many things happening in too many different places around the world that it doesn't make sense for them to happen individually without any sort of weird thing going on.
It's not just that though. When you talk about being put here by a creator, whether you believe in God, whether you believe it's aliens to do whatever, it doesn't really matter because we can't ever possibly know unless, let's say, that dude ever comes back. But I just think we're too significantly different from anything else on the planet. I'm not questioning the science behind how we've developed from monkeys or what have you. Actually, I am, because that don't add up to me. That doesn't make any sense. I do think we're too significantly different in everything that we've done and everything we've achieved and everything that we can create. I don't accept that, that we were playing with our privates and bananas a couple
Listen,
thousand
you
years ago.
definitely came from monkeys. You're the only person that slide down those fucking stairs, still go to the casino, have a couple beers with your everything broken, not even know it.
And you're right.
That's not a human thing.
And you're right. Ryan doesn't play with his bananas anymore. But he still plays with his privates.
All right.
So it's true though.
I have one more on the list. All right. Wiltshire, England. That's where Stonehenge is. In Avebury. Am I saying that right, Andy? Avebury? There's a henge there too. It's like built around some houses. They're still there, but they're rocks.
There's quite a few henges, so I'm not too familiar with this one.
But Wiltshire, England is supposedly the crop circle capital of the world. And they seem to happen in England more than they happen in a lot of places. And a handful of them, people go out there and they're like, this one's bullshit. They're broke. You can tell someone came in here and stamped them out. They just had nothing better to do with life.
Seems like this might have been engineers testing out the GPS process.
But some of them, they go out there and they're like, they're just bent. You know what I mean? Or woven. Like you'll have 5 stalks woven over 5 stalks, like in a wheat field, which wheat's much different than corn. You can't grab one and just bend it over. It's broke. So have you guys, like where you live, around you, how do you feel about crop circles?
They're weird. Again, using modern technology, you've had lots of people try to recreate the precise nature of crop circles and been unable to do it.
Right.
So they've taken it, as you just said, they've taken a field of certain crop, and what they've done is they put like a lawnmower, and they've done ever decreasing circles. They've tried some sort of wind turbines, and they said, is it some sort of hurricane-based phenomenon, typhoon-based thing? And they've tried to recreate them, and actually, again, you can't recreate them with the precision that they were first made.
Right. And with geometry, I feel like there's a ancient geometry, you know what I mean, that fits a certain, and I feel like maybe there are people that are successful at it and they know it. You know what I mean? It's a technology that they remember. Because how hard would it be?
Like a lost art?
I feel like the world itself revolves around numbers. Math is one thing that never changes from
100%.
From one country to another country or whatever the case may be. That language is the same. My numbers are the same as your numbers. Should never change. I feel like that is something that has been throughout the ages. Like once that was found, it was never lost.
So in the same vein, like you just think the precision of them, like the pyramids,
that's ancient geometry. It's
unlikely to be a coincidence.
Right.
Yeah. I think that
Absolutely.
Geometry may be the grand architect. That's what we're talking about here.
That's one thing that's weird to me is the pyramids make sense. Even like something like Stonehenge, like these things that may be symbolic in some way make sense. But like a random crop circle that appears in a cornfield or a wheat field.
Yeah.
Why? Like what's the purpose?
Maybe we haven't been told. Maybe we don't understand the significance yet. And as going back to what's been said previously, 2020 vision is brilliant. And actually, maybe in a number of years' time, we go, oh shit, that's why the crop circles are there. In a number of years' time, similarly to how we've tested the pyramids and we tested Stonehenge, maybe in a number of years' time, people will come back and test the crop circles and go, oh shit, yeah, that's why that happened. And we just don't understand that yet.
Too naive and uninformed to understand.
Are they constellations? Are they things to do with the night sky that we don't know? Has it been analysed to that point? Or is it trajectories? Is it whatever it may be? Maybe we just don't understand that yet. I don't know.
So it's kind of like running the Chicago Bears.
I definitely.
Nobody understands that.
No, I was going to say
It's way
nobody
easier than running the
understands that.
Chicago Bears.
Nobody understands.
Nobody understands it. Nobody ever will. No.
That's okay. I would say the difference, not to just totally jump off topic, but I would say the difference between the Bears and the Lions is no one ever questions why the Lions are terrible. Everyone's just like accept that the Lions are terrible.
The Bears should be good, but they're not, and that's what everybody asks. The Lions are just not, and everybody just goes, "Yeah, the Lions. It's just the Lions, isn't it?"
It's
So
like the Bears.
Andy, you need to stand up for yourself. Tell this guy to eat shit. That's all you have to do.
I made an ill-informed decision, so
You're a good whole head taller than him. You tell this guy.
it's a
He
big
wants a
head.
proper ass whooping. You keep talking about the Lions.
I
like
chose
that
the
dude.
Lions because basketball, I follow players, and so Dennis Rodman's.
The
Vince
Pistons.
Carter.
Oh, love the worm. Love
Yeah,
the worm.
Yeah.
exactly. That's why I like the Detroit.
Rick
and
Mahone.
then,
Oh boy,
exactly, yeah.
the bad boy.
And then when we watched
problem is
Chiefs and all that, it's like it's either Chiefs or Lions, and I've thought I like the Lions jersey a bit better. I'll buy the hoodie of that, and yeah. Now
we went
I'm
down. We
bottom
went
of the
down
league.
to London. We went down.
You
to
should have gone
London
with the
and
Vikings, though, shouldn't you?
It's
Yeah,
purple though, isn't it? It's not.
that's a
not my colour.
They're still a hell of a lot better than
hold
the
on,
Lions.
hold on. Let's ask these guys. Who owns a jersey? Ask
Well,
them.
okay.
Let's do this.
See, I think this is
You
an
busted my
unfair-
balls.
We don't
No,
wanna-
no
yeah, we don't want to
bullshit.
get into this.
No.
You ask these guys.
No,
We don't
I
wanna
think.
get
I
into
think.
this.
Okay.
I think your ass about to get outnumbered.
No, hold on.
Ask them.
I think it's an unfair.
Just ask them.
I will,
Okay.
but let me preface.
Let's
I
hear it.
think it's an unfair question because like NFL American football is sort of not a novelty in the
Hold
UK, but it's unique, right? I mean,
Beans owns a jersey.
so I
Gaz owns a
so
jersey.
we talked
and
about
Andy
this.
owns a jersey.
So-
Ask them.
hold on.
Ask them.
Let me.
Okay. Let's hear it.
they argue more than we
Can't
do,
wait
dude.
to fucking hear it.
I know,
The
yeah.
other-
They're not brought
the-
the Invincibles yet, though.
See the downside of us recording in the same room together? This could get ugly.
The other night we were talking, and I said that I basically, what I said, basically I crapped on jersey guy. Like if you're a grown man that owns an NFL jersey. Now I didn't even say owns
no,
one.
don't just.
No.
No, you're getting too much into it. Just say
No.
what you said.
I didn't say
Say what
owns
you
one.
said.
I said if you wear one other than going to a game or wearing one on like Sunday during the game, I'll write that off. That's fine.
Which one?
If
Which one are you writing off?
if you're gonna go to a game with it on, or on Sunday when the game's on, you wear the jersey. That's fine. But if it's like a Wednesday in May and you're going to the grocery store with your Mitch Trubisky Steelers jersey on, like
You must have seen Adam. 'cause He's
Oh.
definitely done that.
You better give him one. You better give him one right now.
but that it's not and really like
Hold on.
I
You
understand-
still haven't asked them the question. Ask
What's
them
that?
which one of them owns
you
a
just
jersey
said they all do. Do you all own NFL jerseys?
Yes,
I have
don't.
several.
or jerseys of teams.
I
you
have. So
enjoy?
I have. I've got two. I've
Every
got.
goddamn one of them. That's what
I've
we're
got-
getting at here.
I've got two. So I've got two Bears jerseys. I've got a couple of hoodies and a couple of t-shirts and stuff. So yeah, I've got a couple of.
What
couple of
about
jerseys.
your What about your favorite footy team? Got
Yeah.
a couple.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have any jerseys with your own last name on the back of them?
Yes, but
number
that's only because
69.
the name of one of the players that plays for my team has the same surname as I do. So it's
Oh,
actually
okay.
his name, but it's my
But
surname.
have any of you paid for a custom jersey with your own last name on the back to pretend that you were on the team?
Never.
No, I haven't.
How
No,
would you be on?
Adam, have you?
Never, no.
How would you be on the team?
Thank you
Seriously,
for singling
come
me
on.
out, but no.
Did you? Have you not got? Did you
Hey,
not got a beans? or something?
$35.
Oh,
35.
yeah,
Is
actually,
it
yeah, I
that
did,
bad?
yeah.
You throw my name on it. Fuck it.
I did.
Okay.
knows games I got.
He's already got one with his name on it.
But it's not his. Well, it's his name, but it's not his name.
Yes, it is his name.
It is my name.
I did.
but I
It's
didn't pay
amazing
for it.
because he got a cheap. It's freebie. There's no custom there.
No, I was saying that I think that Jersey guy is kind of douchey, but that's more like like I said, I get you got a jersey, you wear it to the game, fine. You got a jersey, you wear it at home on Sunday when the game's on, fine. But like if you're wearing the jersey out of season, like just because.
To be fair, you know what I'm going to say?
Oh.
The jersey, the game jersey I'll wear if I go to the NFL game and I'm maybe on a Sunday if I'm watching the Bears. I probably won't wear it in the week, but I will wear the hoodie. So I wear the hoodie or the t-shirt. The actual game jersey I probably don't wear. So I'm a bit torn between you two guys at the moment. So,
but a hoodie or a t-shirt's fine.
Mine's a hoodie.
Mine's
a hoodie. It's not a jersey.
Yeah.
So what?
But yours a hoodie that impersonates a jersey.
No, it's not. Just has a name and a number on it.
A hoodie that impersonates a jersey. It's exactly what that is.
So it's your hoodie.
NFL player with the hoodie on.
So Ryan has a hoodie that looks like a rugby shirt.
Right. Okay. With a hoodie and sleeves, which they have neither one of.
With his last name on the back.
Yeah.
And the number 69.
And the yin yang.
It's a great number. It's a great number to have.
With Mother's Day coming up, you better watch your step. I'll be calling her up. You better watch your step. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, so I think we're going to toast. We'll get out of this thing. But as a collective, is there anybody right now that's really been bothering you guys? Like, as a group?
Besides Ryan.
In the UK, is there anybody we need to get rid of tonight? That's what I need to know.
I don't know whether or not you... Dude, seriously, I was literally going to say the same guy.
Who's that?
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan.
I love it.
Let's go.
Andy, 3? You in on it?
Yeah, I'll go for that as well.
All right.
Piers Morgan's an alien too.
Is everybody got a beer? Let's get one.
I've just finished.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Here's to those that wish us well. All the rest can go to hell.
Hell.
Fuck you, Piers Morgan.